March 4, 1907, a federal clerk in Indian Territory closes a ledger for the last time. Inside it, 41,798 Cherokee citizens and 4,924 people listed apart from them. Under one word, freedmen, black families, enslaved by the Cherokee Nation, then made citizens of it by treaty this January. The Government Accountability Office estimated somewhere between 146,000 and 395,000 living Americans descend from them. Almost none of them know the surnames. This is a countdown of 17 black surnames on the Cherokee Freedmen rolls, the Wallace roll, the Kern Clifton roll, the final Dawes Rolls, counting down from 17 to 1. Everyone is searchable, free. Today, but first you need to understand what this record actually is, because it was never meant to be a family tree. Think of it as a property deed office ordered, almost overnight, to register people instead of land. The U.S. government wanted to break up the collectively held territory of the 5 tribes into individual plots. To do that, it first had to decide who counted as a citizen. A commission sat in tents and courthouses from 1898 to 1907, took sworn testimony, and wrote names on cards. Those cards became the Dawes Rolls. Over 250,000 people applied. Roughly 100,000 were approved. Here's the part that changed everything. The commission sorted people into categories: Cherokee by blood, intermarried white, and freedmen. If you had visible African ancestry, you went on the freedmen roll, and when your father or mother was Cherokee, even when the clerk wrote that parent's name on the very same card, the freedmen roll recorded no blood quantum at all. That one filing decision is why, 80 years later, families with documented Cherokee parents were told they had no claim. 17 names. Here we go. Number 17. Stidham. Samuel Stidham was elected to the Cherokee National Council for the Illinois District, serving 1895 to 1897, 30 years after emancipation, in a nation that had fought for the Confederacy. A black man whose family had been property inside that nation won a seat in its legislature and debated laws across from men who had once owned people. Historian Dan Littlefield notes they were almost certainly more freedmen candidates than history recorded, and that freedmen voters were decisive in nearly every Cherokee election of that era. Number 16. Ned Irons held the Tahlequah district seat from 1895 to 1897, the district containing the Cherokee capital itself. Tahlequah was the courthouse, the printing office of the Cherokee Advocate, the room where the nation argued over whether freedmen deserved a share of money from the sale of the Cherokee outlet. Irons sat in that room, holding a vote in it. In 1878, a freedman named Jesse Ross told a Senate committee plainly, freedmen had land, schools, jury service, and the vote. Number 15, Alberti. Jerry Alberti was elected for the Kooiskooie district, 1889 to 1891, the largest, most contested district in the nation. His term overlapped exactly with the window when the federal government was building a separate roll of freedmen because the Cherokee Nation had refused to pay them their share. He was legislating and being audited at the same time. Alberti is one of the most frequently recurring names on the Wallace roll, appearing in both the Kooiskooie and Delaware districts, a family that scattered across the nation after freedom. Number 14. Beck, a name behind one of the most infamous figures in Western history, and almost nobody knows the connection. Tempe and Lucy Beck were enslaved by a Cherokee citizen in the Delaware district. After emancipation they kept the name. Their daughter, Ellen Beck, was a Cherokee freedwoman with Cherokee ancestry on her father's side, listed on the Dawes Rolls. Ellen's son was Crawford Goldsby. The outlaw newspapers called Cherokee Bill. The papers sold him as a monster and never printed what he actually was. The grandson of 2 people the Cherokee Nation had enslaved, and of a documented Cherokee citizen. Number 13. Bean. Nancy Rogers Bean was born around 1854 at Boggy Depot, while her family was being marched toward Fort Gibson. Raised on the Rogers place, loaned between households, she was permitted one toy, a rag doll with charcoal eyes, for exactly 1 hour a day. She also carried her family's account of the auction block. An aunt of hers, listed for sale, took up a hatchet, laid her own hand on a log, and cut it off rather than be sold. Number 12. Richardson Cheney Richardson gave her account to the Federal Writers Project in 1937, one of the hardest sentences in the entire Oklahoma collection. Enslaved by a Cherokee man named Charlie Rogers, her mother went out one day and never came back. Weeks later, her body was found in the woods. During the war, Cheney's group was driven south and held in a camp until the fighting ended. Walking home, they passed a place burned flat. Freedom came to her at Fort Gibson. Number 11. Shepard Morris Shepard was born November 1852 near the Illinois River. His mother refused to weave plain cloth, dyeing it with copperas, walnut, and wild indigo. So Morris wore a striped shirt until he was 11. After freedom, he was bound out through the Freedmen's Bureau. His uncle had run off to join the Union Army and was discharged at Fort Scott, Kansas. Morris eventually took his own freedmen's land allotment near Coffeyville. Number 10. Wilson Sarah Wilson opened her interview by settling the question herself. I was a Cherokee slave, and now I am a Cherokee free woman, and besides that, I'm a quarter Cherokee my own self. Born in 1850 near the Scullyville boat landing, her father was the son of the man who enslaved her mother. That's the arithmetic the Dawes clerks refused to write down. A woman 1/4 Cherokee by descent, filed under freedman blood. Quantum left blank. Number 9. Starr Milton Starr and William Lee Starr were both interviewed by the Federal Writers Project as Cherokee freedmen, and their pattern is the pattern this whole list is built on. When emancipation came, most freed people kept the surname of the family that had held them. The name wasn't chosen, it was inherited from an owner. Starr appears in 2 separate districts, the fingerprint of one large holding, broken apart and dispersed. Number 8. Nave in 1901. Cornelius Neely Nave applied for enrollment for himself, his wife, and 5 children. His father had been enslaved by a Cherokee man named Henry Nave, his mother by Joseph Van. His wife's mother had been enslaved by Joseph Van to one family. One application card touching 2 of the largest slave-holding estates in the nation. Cornelius was born after the war. He was enrolled as a freedman anyway. If your family name has already come up or you're waiting to hear it, subscribe now. The last few names on this list have living court cases attached to them. Number 7. Adair Adair is one of the oldest, most powerful Cherokee family names, which is exactly why it's also a black one. Ruth Adair Nash, a freedman descendant from Bartlesville, was issued a Cherokee Nation citizenship card in 1975. She kept it through the decades when the tribe told families like hers they'd never really been citizens at all. Her married name would become the name on the case that eventually settled the question for good. Cherokee Nation versus Nash. Number 6. Shoe Boots, the oldest story on this list, and the one that shows how the whole system was built. Tarsakayak, called Shoe Boots, was a Cherokee warrior who fathered children with a woman he held, named All. Under both Cherokee descent law and the slave code the nation had adopted, his own children were born as property. In 1824 he petitioned the council to free them, writing that he could not bear his own children being called someone's property. The council granted it, then ordered him to end the relationship. He had twin sons anyway. When he died in 1829, his sisters inherited the twins as property. Number 5. Brown to men, one surname the start of black political power in the Cherokee Nation. Joseph Brown was elected to the council for the Tahlequah district in 1875, the first freedman seated in the legislature. 9 years after the treaty that freed his people, Reverend Jack Brown founded a Baptist church with his wife Katie, then won the Illinois district seat in 1885, a church and a council seat. Built by the same to hands. Number 4. Glass Fox Glass called Sula in Cherokee, meaning Fox preferred to speak the language his whole life. Born around 1840 to a full-blood Cherokee father, he enlisted at 12 or 13 with the 2nd Indian Home Guard on the Union side. Alongside his father, he drew a federal Civil War pension for it, and sat on the Cherokee National Council from 1890 to 1891. Number 3. Whitmire, the name that turned the freedmen into a legal force. Moses Whitmire served as trustee, carrying the freedmen's claim into federal court after the nation distributed proceeds from the Cherokee outlet land sale and left them out. The Court of Claims ruled in 1895 that payments couldn't be restricted to one class of citizens. The Cherokee Nation appealed. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld it. Whitmire v. Cherokee Nation, 1912. One man's name on a docket, and the freedmen won their share. Number 2. Ross, the name of the most powerful family in Cherokee history, born by a man they owned. Joseph Stick Ross was born into slavery around 1854, held by Principal Chief John Ross himself. After freedom, he took a land allotment outside Tahlequah, still called Stick Ross Mountain today. He served on the Cherokee National Council in 1893, was enrolled as a freedman with his wife and 5 children in 1901, and died in 1930. His marker reads, Tahlequah, Pioneer and Civic Leader Number 1. Van. No surname carries more of this history. Joseph Rich Joe Van of Weber's Falls was among the wealthiest Cherokee in the nation. In 1842, 25 people he held walked off his plantation from Mexico, the largest slave revolt in Indian Territories history. A Cherokee militia hunted them down. Their descendants kept the name. Frank Van sat on the council in the 1880s. In 2001, an engineer named Marilyn Van applied for Cherokee citizenship and was refused despite documented Cherokee ancestry because her father was on the freedman roll. She became lead plaintiff in a case that ran over a decade. On August 30, 2017, a federal judge ruled that under Article 9 of the Treaty of 1866, the Cherokee Nation must treat Native Cherokees and freedmen descendants equally. In 2021, the Cherokee Nation Supreme Court struck by blood from its constitution. Marilyn Van was confirmed to a Cherokee Nation Commission that September, the first freedman descendant appointed to government in over a century. People always ask if a DNA test can tell you this. It can tell you something. A 2015 study led by Katarzyna Breik across Harvard Medical School and 23andMe analyzed the ancestry of over 5,200 African Americans. On average, about 73% African, 24% European, just under 1% Native American, but averages hide the story. Roughly 1 in 20 African Americans carries at least 2% Native American ancestry, and in Oklahoma, that jumps to about 14%, the highest of any state, a direct genetic echo of removal and of the black families marched west alongside it. Now the honest word, because this channel doesn't deal in wishful thinking. DNA cannot put you on the freedman roll. Cherokee citizenship doesn't run on blood quantum or a test kit. It runs on documented lineal descent from someone named on the Dawes Rolls. Native ancestry on a test proves nothing about enrollment, and the reverse is just as true. Thousands of freedmen had no native ancestry at all and are citizens by treaty. Regardless, one more caution: a shared surname in a shared line. Freed people overwhelmingly took the name of the family that enslaved them, so unrelated black families nationwide carry names like Van or Ross with no connection to each other at all. Your surname is a lead, not a lineage. Here's exactly how to check, and most of it is free. Go to the Oklahoma Historical Society's Dawes database, searchable by surname, filterable to Cherokee. If you get a hit, write down 2 numbers, the roll number and the card number. Then order the enrollment application packet from the O's Research Center, $35. Online or by phone, 1 page to over 100. Here's why it matters more than almost any other record in American genealogy. Freedmen enrollment cards carry 3 fields that appear almost nowhere else: slave of, father's owner, mother's owner. Once you have the enslaver's name, you can walk backward into Cherokee Nation property records, wills, and estate papers and cross the 1870 wall that stops most black family research cold. The packets often include sworn testimony transcripts, your ancestors' own words, under oath. Tell me in the comments which surname, which district name, both, because the district is what separates two families with the same name, and this isn't history. Yesterday, July 23, 2026, to Muskogee Creek Freedmen descendants filed suit in federal court in Oklahoma City, 1 year after the Muskogee Nation Supreme Court ruled they were entitled to citizenship, because their cards still haven't been issued. That's a separate roll. a separate list of names, and an estimated 100,000 Black Creeks in this country.